The best way to get better at programming is to practice. In this example, what we're going to do is open a file for reading, process that information, then open a file for writing and write it out. So we're doing two separate steps, both reading from a file and writing to a file. As always, you can download the starter file using a link provided in the description below. You can then pause this video, complete it on your own, and check your answer. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is we need to open our file for writing. And I'm going to call this temp_n, short for temperature n, because this is going to be a file of temperatures. And we're going to say equals open temp short.txt. And we're going to open this up for reading. So you may have noticed that I did not use the with operator. That's because I'm opening up two separate files, one for reading and one for writing, and I find it a little bit easier to do them with using the regular method because that way I don't have so much indentions and stuff like that. To open the file for writing, I'm going to call it temp out. We're going to do open celsius.txt. And this one we're opening for writing. Okay, so let's read this value in. So you have 4 line in temp n. This is a pretty standard thing. We want to make sure we always use the for loop whenever we use the temp n or their input file. Remember, it can be anything we want. Next, we need to convert this to Celsius. So I'm going to say var, short for Fahrenheit, equals float line. This is because I don't know if I'm dealing with floating point numbers, integers. I want to work for both. Then I have Celsius equals, and we need our conversion. So our conversion is going to be Fahrenheit minus 32 times 9 divided by 5. And if you don't know this formula, you can always look it up on Google or something like that. There's nothing special about these formulas. A lot of times we deal with formulas we don't know about, so we look them up. Now, we need to write this to an output file. So I'm going to say temp out.write, but you'll notice in the little hint that temp out gives, it's expecting a string. So we're expecting a string, but Celsius is going to be a floating point number. So I need to convert this number into a string. So I use the str function, and then I'll put in my Celsius temporary variable. Then I'm going to also need to append a new line character. So I'm going to concatenate the string that I create with the new line character. I could have also done temp out.write on a separate line with just a new line character. Once that's done, and this is not going to be indented because we're outside of this for loop, so that goes through line by line by line. That's good. Now I'm going to close these two files. So temp out.close and temp in.close. What order do I close these in? It really doesn't matter. In my case, I am closing them in the reverse order that I opened them. So I'm kind of working my way inside out. So I open in, I open out, I close in. You do not have to do this. The only thing you have to be really worried about is closing them before you're done working with them, which is why I made sure that I was not indented. I'm not part of that for body. Now let's go ahead and save this and run it. You might say, well, I didn't see anything happen. Did anything really happen? And the answer is yes. Over here on my far left-hand side, I see Celsius.txt. I can come in here and I can look and I can see some numbers. I can look at my temp short and I can see some values, and just kind of knowing off the top of my head, I see some positive values, some negative values, and they look like they're correct. Now I might want to actually go in there and run a calculation, throw something in Google. It has an automatic converter for you. So you might ask, well, wait a second. If Google will automatically allow me to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius and vice versa, why would I want to run that information through a Python program? And if I only have a couple of values, like you see here, then that's a really good question. On the other hand, what happens if I had more? What happens if I had 100 or 1,000 or 10,000? Well, trying to type all those in and get those values out of Google will be very time consuming. So let's come back to our program real quick and say temp long. This is 150, so it's 15 times the size of our short one. And let's just run this and see how long it takes. And we're done. No speed up, none whatsoever, done in less than a second. If I look at my Celsius.txt, you can see all those values I have in here. So changing the amount of data in a lot of cases doesn't have a huge impact in time. And this is where something like Python or any other programming language for that matter becomes very valuable to us by allowing us to use the same type of value, same type of text over and over and over again, regardless of the size. So I hope this helped you both learn why we want to be able to do things like this in Python, as well as learning how to do it in Python. Please subscribe to the channel to see more examples of how to learn how to program and program better.